Welcome back to the Arctic for a look at how to make camping in unforgivable conditions comfortable. Today I will set my tent up, give you a tour of a stove I made from a couple old propane cylinders, cook dinner, and look at some wildlife, and tour an unusual cabin. I shot this video in the latter part of April, springtime in the Arctic. This time of year the days are long, but we still have plenty of ice and snow for travel. The snow in this location has thawed and refroze, so it's very hard and nice for setting up a tent. This little stove is a dandy in a tent. I'll showcase it a little bit later on. So you can see this thing is really two propane tanks like you'd have on your barbecue, welded together right here. This is the weld that's on the tank initially. And then the back of it, you probably recognize that if you do any barbecuing. Put a pipe in here so that I'd be able to fit a stovepipe in it. And then I built these legs. The leg fits inside there. And then the bottom of the legs are actually a 2-inch piece of the propane tank on the corner welded so that you can level the stove by turning them. The hinge is just several pieces of pipe with a rod that goes through them, and you weld one here, one here, one there, and it makes a hinge. Alright, we're going to try putting the coffee in there. Probably going to be a little on the messy side. And I'm going to put this diffuser on top. It makes this the water gets put in there evenly. See, we got a little magic happening in there right now. While the coffee's percolating, we'll take a quick look at my digs for the evening. This is the same stove. I actually took this video later in the evening. Alright, this has been going for 10 minutes. That's turned a nice color there. Snow on the bottom of that. With camp all set up, I took a ride to see what adventures awaited. You can see this creek was running water at some point, so you should approach with caution. Running water or slush to a snow machine is the equivalent of mud and four-wheelers, and I don't want to get stuck way out here. I was very fortunate to get within 20 yards of this lynx. Lynx are very shy animals, and any sighting is lucky. After the lynx sighting, I have to admit I felt very blessed. So I headed back to camp for a little dinner and an opportunity to watch the sunset from the warmth of my tent. Cooking can be as easy as you choose to make it. I prepare all ingredients back at my cabin, so I don't have to do it in the cold. Check out my custom lid. With the first course complete, I don't want it to get cold, so I'm going to put it in the warmer. I'm going to use this makeshift trivet to keep the bottom potatoes from burning. I don't like to mix my food, so this foil will keep everything separated, but still warm. While this is cooking, I want to show you something really unique.
I'll show you a pair of mittens that an Inupiaq lady made for me. These are made from moose here. This is the rough side. Smooth side here. You can see that this is beaver here, and the inside back of it is lined with 3/4 inch moton, which is sheepskin. Palm side has a nylon quilting on it. The beaver is designed really to keep air from going there, to keep all the heat in, so they don't have to fit super tight, but that hair takes up the gap. You can see that. Right. Thanks for letting me share.
It looks like dinner's about ready. The mushrooms are hot, and the potatoes are hot, but not burned. In the middle of the night, I had an interesting experience that I would like to share. I woke from a deep sleep to wide awake immediately. I was lying on my cot, wondering why I was awake, then I heard footsteps outside my tent. Just a soft pad, pad, pad of evenly paced steps. I was on my side, so one ear was pressed against my camp pillow, so the sounds outside were not in stereo, and I could not identify where they were coming from. As quietly as I could, I lifted my head up so I could hear better. Without a doubt, there was something outside my tent. From the sound, I would estimate that it was less than 10 feet away. My first reaction was, I should go out and see what it is. And then I thought, no, you're crazy, you're not going anywhere. Then I figured I better be super quiet so whatever it was wouldn't hear me. But then I thought, with their hearing, they can probably hear my breathing. I bet they can hear my pounding heart. That thought was a little freaky. I started running down the list of visitors I might have in the middle of the night. Worst case scenario, polar bear. They are uncommon in this area, but they have been sightings from time to time. Next most scary, spring grizzly. Grizzlies have recently come out of hibernation, and after a long nap, they're in search of food. Don't laugh. Then for some reason I thought back to a podcast I'd listened to a few days prior. A Bigfoot researcher said when camping in Bigfoot country you should never set your cot up against your tent because Bigfoot might grab your cot and shake it, like Bigfoot's some kind of prankster. I silently smirked to myself because this was the least of my worries. Then I thought, fox? No, the footsteps are from something much heavier than a fox. Lynx? No, again, they're too light. Perhaps a moose or a caribou. I ruled these out because I don't think the footsteps were from a hooved animal. The footsteps moved away from my tent, so I reached down and moved my pistol to the head of my cot. Over the years, I've read a lot about bear maulings, and this is going to sound weird, but in all the accounts I've read, no one has ever been mauled or attacked when they were in their tent. There have been times when I got up in the morning and found fresh bear tracks in close proximity to my tent, but I've never known there was something right outside my tent when it was actually happening. As I laid there, I heard the animal move back closer to my tent and then away several times. Then finally silence. After a long period of silence, I somehow managed to fall back to sleep. In the morning, I snuck outside my tent, pistol at the ready. Nothing there. I looked around for tracks, but the snow was frozen, and even my tracks from the day prior had been erased by the early morning Jack Frost. The day prior, I had eaten dinner and tossed a few potatoes and fat from my steak not far from my tent, so I checked and found that it was gone. Just for comparison, I got down on all fours and tried walking to see how much noise my steps would make. I guessed that whatever had visited weighs more than the 200 pounds that I weigh. I'll never know for sure, but from the rhythm of the padded footsteps and the weight, I would guess that it was most likely a spring grizzly. I cruised around the area on my snow machine and found a sow and cub grizzly footprints that were 2 days old and a half-mile from camp. Additionally, a couple miles away, I was fortunate to run across a nice male boar grizzly. All that said, in the end, I think my midnight visitor will remain a mystery. I finished my mid-morning adventures and wanted to get an early start back, while everything was still frozen. I had a long way to go, and I still needed to cross the sea ice. Thank you for traveling along today, and don't forget to subscribe for more Alaskan adventures.